All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It is time for us to go through the 2025 NFL playoff. I'm going to run it through, do my prediction, talk about the games a little bit. Hope you guys enjoy. Make sure you subscribe. Leave a thumbs up on the video if you like it, if you like some more. And yeah, remember, we will be doing commentary, watching all these games live on the channel. So make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss that. So if we are going to go ahead and dive in here, AFC and NFC, who's going to come out on top? Let's watch. So starting with the AFC, we've got some interesting matchups here. The Buffalo Bills, the number 2 seed, versus the number 7 seed, the Denver Broncos. The number 3 seed, Baltimore Ravens, taking on the number 6 seed, Pittsburgh Steelers. The number 4 seed, Houston Texans, taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. We'll go game by game, and then I'll explain everything into the next round. So, Buffalo Bills taking on the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos, an interesting year. They're pretty much playing with house money, so there is no pressure on them. The Bills kind of have pressure. It feels like they have to go to the Super Bowl, but I think that they are going to be able to do this, even though it's not necessarily that they're in too much pressure to where it's going to affect them. I do think that their pressure will be more later on, having to get to that Super Bowl. Can they do it? We're going to find that out, but I do like the Bills to beat the Broncos in this one. Baltimore taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, this divisional matchup is tough. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been on the better end of that for the longest part, but I don't think that will be the case today. The Ravens have been one of the best teams overall. I was looking at a stat earlier. I'll put it up on the screen right now. It shows like all the different teams in the NFL, and it's that are left in the playoffs, and it shows their playoff margin. And Baltimore's at the top. They have, against other teams in the playoffs, they have plus 112 point differential. And yeah, you can kind of see that throughout here. Could be some trouble for some teams. I mean, like, for instance, like where we've talked about Kansas City kind of being overrated, only being +4 against other playoff teams. That's kind of a problem there. So we'll see if that kind of bites them in the butt there. But Baltimore Ravens, I know that they're not necessarily talked about, and I know a lot of people think, oh, they haven't done anything in the playoffs, Lamar Jackson, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that's fair to hold that against somebody, because, like, it's not right. And, I mean, it only takes 1 year for all of that to subside. I mean, there's been plenty of players like that, plus adding Derrick Henry. The run game is unbelievable. I think the Baltimore Ravens take that, so I've got them in the next round. And then the Houston Texans taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Texans have been a team that's been kind of a problem. On the opposite end of that scoring margin differential, by the way. I do think that the Chargers win this one. They've been well put together. They've been on pretty solid run here lately, even though the Chargers are also at the bottom of that list as well. The Texans can win this one. I'm going to go with the Chargers, though. I do think that the Texans have been inconsistent, but we'll see what kind of version of the Texans we get. They are definitely capable of winning this. They'll be happy to have this game at home. I do think that the Chargers are a better team overall, though, so we'll see how that one goes. So with that, that'll have the matchups like this. Now, if you're not familiar with how the NFL works, with the seeding, it doesn't reseed, but it's not a direct bracket where this team goes there, this team goes there. You know, it's based off of highest seed, which the number 1 seed is the Kansas City Chiefs, will face the lowest seed that wins over here. So in mine, it was the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Chargers would take on the Chiefs, and then the Bills, who are the highest seed remaining, the number 2 seed, would go there, and then the 3 seed Baltimore Ravens, the highest remaining seed, would go to take them on. So I would have Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. We've got that divisional matchup there. Kansas City coming off that bye, getting some healthy players. It'll be interesting to see. This game could be very close, which I think every game will be, like they have for them all season long. I do like the Chargers, but I'm going to go with Kansas City. I think that they are going to get to that AFC Championship game. I do feel like the Chiefs are solid, even though I have said that I do think that they are overrated, that they're not as good as the record shows. I do think that they are going to be good enough to beat the Chargers, even though it could be a close one. So I think this could be like a field goal difference kind of game. So, and the other matchup here, the Buffalo Bills taking on the Baltimore Ravens. This game to me is like the championship game almost. I feel like both teams are so good, but I really don't know who's going to come out on top. Being in Buffalo, it's going to be kind of an advantage. I mean, it will be an advantage for the Bills, but the Baltimore Ravens don't have to travel that far. And I don't know. On the road, I've got to go with the Bills winning this one. I like Josh Allen and them winning that. But the Baltimore Ravens, they're going to put up a fight in this one, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to pull something off. But just for the sake of what I'm feeling, them being at home, I like the Bills. So that gives the good matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have always had a thorn in their side known as the Kansas City Chiefs. They've never felt like they've been able to get over that hump. The Kansas City Chiefs have always been that team that have knocked them out, it feels like, them and the Bengals. But it feels like the Bills have came so close. They can almost taste success. They can almost taste the championship and the potential to go to the Super Bowl, and it's always not happened. But this is the year, ladies and gentlemen. The Buffalo Bills are going to finally get over that hump, beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now, this Super Bowl will consist with the Buffalo Bills in it. Now, looking at the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Green Bay Packers. That is our 2 versus 7 seed. We got the 3 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the 6 seed Washington Commanders. And then we have the 4 seed Los Angeles Rams taking on the 5 seed Minnesota Vikings. So this is one that I think there could be more upsets on. We'll go through them individually. Starting off here, though, with the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Green Bay Packers. This was the first game of the season that we had this year. It was a tight matchup. It was in Brazil. I think that this one is going to be fun to watch. I think that this was an underrated matchup. I honestly think in every single one of these games that we could see the lower seed winning. I do think, though, that the Philadelphia Eagles, with the experience that they've had, I do think that they will come out on top. But don't be surprised if the Green Bay Packers win this game. They are a good team. They have that experience. They kind of did that last year where they went on the road, had that shocking, absolute domination game against the Dallas Cowboys. And they might be able to do it to another NFC East foe. Now, we'll see. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that, but it could be an interesting matchup. And, of course, we will be live with that. So make sure that y'all are subscribed and you don't miss the live streams. Well, I'll literally be here for every single one of these games. Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Washington Commanders. The Buccaneers and the Rams flipped right there at the end. Tampa Bay winning, Los Angeles losing. That flipped them to the 3 and 4 seed. So instead of the Rams versus the Commanders, we got the Buccaneers and the Commanders. So Tampa Bay at home against the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders they make me think of the Denver Broncos in this own respective conference. Because first off, they both have the offensive rookie of the year contender, whether it be Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. They're both these young teams that are trying to get stuff figured out. And they are building around that, and they're playing with house money. Both of these teams, they don't really, whatever happens, happens. It doesn't really upset them either way. I do think the Commanders can come out on top in this one, and I am going to pick them to win this one on the road. I don't feel like Tampa Bay is a tough place to go play. I feel like and I'm just being honest, a lot of the times across sports in general, Tampa doesn't show out for sports. Now, I know the Buccaneers are definitely one of the better teams that they do show out for, but it feels like that the crowd, the support is not as much there, particularly since Brady's left, and it's always kind of been that way unless they have like a big star. But even for the playoffs, I think that they'll be there, but I don't think it's going to be as much of a difficulty as like going into to Philadelphia or going into, Baltimore or Buffalo. It's not the same caliber. And Washington fans, they travel, and they're everywhere. Going down, retiring to Florida. There's going to be some Commanders fans there, but I like the Commanders getting this dub. They don't have that much pressure on them. I mean, Tampa Bay really doesn't have that much pressure, but I feel like Tampa, not the greatest team in here, but I think that they will be interesting. But I like the Commanders getting this done on the road. Los Angeles Rams taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Now, this is an unfortunate matchup for both teams. I think this is another close matchup. The Rams, they're the team that went in and beat Detroit. You have to think about that. And Minnesota, a team that should probably be the 2 seed right now. I really feel like if they would redo the way that the playoffs work, I think that, number one, I like no buys. And I think that they should also get rid of the automatic seeds for the division winners. I think that it should grant you a spot in the playoffs. But I don't think that it should automatically make you the higher seed just because you make the playoffs. What do you guys think of that? Let me know in the comments. If you listen to this point, go to the comments. What do you think about the playoff structure? Are you supporting an 8-team playoffs while also just making the division winners a bid without home field advantage? Or do you like for the divisions winners to have home field advantage? Let me know in the comment section. My reason behind that is I do think that, like, for instance, this year, what we've had there with the NFC North, with the Vikings, Packers, and the Lions. It's such high-caliber teams, and it's kind of rough when all the teams are in there. They can't get home playoff games. I mean, the Vikings are going to have to hope that either the Commanders or the Packers represent they're going to hope that the Washington Commanders and the Green Bay Packers win this next week, because that is the only way that they're going to have a good chance of actually hosting a game. But besides the fact, even if that is possible, I do think that Minnesota wins this one. I do think they are a better team overall. Can Sam Darnold do something? I really feel like that loss to the Lions should have been a wake-up call for them. Now, I could be wrong, and that could be just like a foreshadowing that they are going to absolutely just crap the bed and they're not going to do well in the playoffs. But Sam Darnold, if he can get his stuff together, if they can play the way that they have been playing with Jordan Addison, with Justin Jefferson, I think they can pretty easily beat the Rams. Rams quarterback situation concerns me, but I do like the Vikings to win this one. But if they can get stuff together and learn from their mistakes, the Vikings are capable of going far. I know that's wild to hear, but the Vikings could go to the Super Bowl if they get things playing the way that they should. They are a good team. They had a lot of missed opportunities. What was it, like 3 or 4? I think it was like 2 or 3 times that they messed up on like 4th and goal against the Lions, and it was like a 21-point swing plus missing a field goal. Like, there's a lot of difference there, and that could have changed the outcome of the game, which, ifs are whatever. But if you're looking at it in that sense, like how much points they should have scored or could have scored, they could have made it just like a 1 or 2, like a 1-possession game, maybe even a 2-possession game in the game against Detroit. But they didn't show up, and unfortunate for them, that's got them at the 5 seed and probably playing on the road throughout the playoffs. But yeah, that's what it looks like there. So moving on to the divisional round here. So I have, like I said, I got the Lions will be hosting the Washington Commanders, because it's going to be in my opinion, it'll be the 1 seed versus the 6 seed. And then we have the 2 seed Philadelphia Eagles taking on the 5 seed Minnesota Vikings. Detroit Lions, great team. They're looking better. They've been getting healthier. I know they wish they had Aiden Hutchinson. I wish they also had some secondary help there. They've had some injuries and stuff like that. It's caused a lot of problems for them this year. They're probably going to get Montgomery back. That is going to be a lethal combo. Having Montgomery, having Jahmyr Gibbs like they played in the season, having them both back is going to be outstanding for them for the playoffs. Then Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Minnesota Vikings. That'll be a good one as well. By the way, I like Detroit. I like Detroit beating the Commanders. Like I said, I feel like the Commanders get that win in Tampa Bay. They're just going to feel great. That's going to be great to build off for the future. But I don't think that they're good enough to beat the Lions yet. I think they can keep it close. They do have a high-power offense, and if that defense for the Lions is lackluster, they could get in there and get something done. But I do think the Lions come out on top. Then we have the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Minnesota Vikings. The Eagles, a good team. They've been there. The Vikings are a good team too. I like the experience of the Eagles over the Vikings. It's going to be it's a question of which version of Sam Darnold and this offense do we get. Addison would be great to step up there. Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, they have the weapons. They have the ability. Aaron Jones in the backfield. That offense can click. The defense is pretty good too. I would actually say they're one of the better defenses. But can they continue that success? What will they be able to do? I do feel like they have like a coach of the year candidate in Kevin O'Connell. I think he's a great coach. Apparently other teams were inquiring about trading for him too as a coach, which is wild. We haven't seen that since the Sean Payton trade, but a different circumstance. It was a man that was retired trying to trade versus a man that is actively playing trying to trade. So that is a wild situation, but I do like the Eagles in this one. I think the Vikings are interesting to see. And then they're going to have a quarterback situation. If Sam Darnold does bad, even in the game against the Rams or a game against the Eagles, they're going to be like, do we go with J.J. McCarthy or do we go with Sam Darnold for the future? A lot of questions there. I hope that Darnold doesn't see ghosts. But, yeah, we'll have to see what that one goes. But I do like the Lions and Eagles to match off here in the NFC Championship game, and this is the championship. Honestly, I go back and forth. I'm split on who I think is going to do this. If you've watched my streams, I've been back and forth between the Lions and the Eagles. I don't know. The defense for the Eagles, definitely better. The offense for the Lions, better in my opinion. I really think this could go either way. The Lions are very risky. Dan Campbell likes to risk it, put it all on the line a lot of times. Now, that can be great, but that can also bite you in the butt, especially if you're doing it unnecessary. I was talking to a couple friends. One of my friends, she was asking me, she was like, how did the Lions do? What do you think about them going into the playoffs? I really think that they are going to be interesting to see, particularly how the defense can handle. I know they've got injuries, but they got to do that next man up mentality. They've got to get things done. That is how they're going to come out on top. The Eagles, they're good too, but what version of the Eagles will we get? Can Sirianni lead this team once again? Is Jalen Hurts going to be okay? There's a lot of questions with his health, stuff like that. That'll be a lot of the concern and the questioning there. I do think I will go with the Lions. Now, I have been back and forth. If you've been on my streams, you've probably heard me say Eagles towards the later end of the year and the start of the year. For most of it, I said Lions. All the injuries were starting to concern me. The game against the Vikings made me feel like they can go up against a high-powered offense on defense, weather the storm, and get it done. Even if they make a lot of mistakes, but they're going to have to be careful. They can't beat themselves with their own aggressiveness. That is a big concern that I have for them. I do think they come out on top, but be very careful and look into this. Even in the game against the Commanders, they can lose that game if they're too aggressive when they don't need to be. So we'll have to see how that is. But I do have the Lions in the Super Bowl. So as you can see, Lions, Buffalo Bills. Just a zoomed out look here. This is exactly what we have here for the playoffs. You can just kind of take it and feel how I'm feeling. This is kind of the look I have. I have kind of changed on some things over time. Like, for instance, the Eagles is a team I've been kind of big on, thinking that they can get it done, which they still can. Like I do, I have them in the NFC Championship. But I guess we'll see exactly what's there. So the big question everybody asks, who's going to come in on top? Who's going to come out and win the Super Bowl? Buffalo Bills, Detroit Lions, Super Bowl 59. And who wins it all? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you now, the winner is going to be the Buffalo Bills. The Bills, a team that I have felt the best about all season long. Josh Allen on an MVP caliber year, even though I think Lamar Jackson should probably get it, especially since Joe Burrow didn't make it into the playoffs. I do feel like that it was an MVP caliber, top 3 of the league kind of year with limited weapons. Great year for the Buffalo Bills. The defense is always phenomenal, and I feel like that is one thing that separates them. I do feel like their defense is something that is not really comparable to a lot of different teams, except for the Ravens. I feel like that's why I feel like the Bills versus the Ravens is such a good example of teams that I think could win the Super Bowl. The Ravens and the Bills. I honestly feel like that might be the Super Bowl matchup there. I feel like that's kind of the case for the AFC versus the NFC. Is there are 2 teams in that AFC that I feel like have excelled better at offense and defense with the Bills and the Ravens. The Chiefs worry me on offense. They haven't been as great, which they could get better. The defense has been pretty good, but also they've not been able to score 30 points on a team this year. That is a big concern. That is a huge concern because like the only other teams that have not been able to do that are like 4-13, 5-12. Like they really have to figure some stuff out there. And then, like, looking at the defense, looking at the AFC, I feel like the Eagles are the best team in regards to that. The Lions kind of weather the storm. They're going to have to really have that high-power offense and aggressiveness work in their favor. But that's why I kind of feel like maybe the Eagles was the right choice to put up there. But either way, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. I do like the Bills. What do y'all think of this pick? Let me know in the comments section. Who do you guys have winning it all? I'm excited for it. Like I said, we're going to be live starting tonight on Thursday. We're going to be live for the college football playoff. We got the semifinals today and tomorrow. Then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 3 days, 6 games. It's going to be fun. All these games you see over here to the left, Buffalo Bills, Denver Broncos, as well as the Ravens and Steelers, the Texans and Chargers, Eagles and Packers, Buccaneers, Commanders, Rams, and Vikings. I'm going to have all those games live for y'all. Then we'll follow it into the next week. So if you'd like to be a part of that, please make sure that you subscribe. We'd love to see you guys in the next one. So will this happen? We'll review this after the season and then kind of look into everything for next year. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, leave a thumbs up on the video if you watch this long, and subscribe as well if you liked it. I'll see you guys very soon. You'll have a good rest of your day.